Exterminator needed for a mouse problem. We've spotted 3 so far, and you should see how they run. Need to supply your own carving knife. Serious inquiries only, as I've never seen such a sight in my life. Did you even think to check for holes? Or how about this, that I, in fact, never wear earrings of any sort? What an asshat. He was horrible.
I know where all her holes are, just for the record.
Santa was supposed to deliver gifts riding what? A, an elephant, B, a horse, C, a donkey, or D, a sled pulled by dogs?
I'm going to go with an elephant right out of the blocks, A.
I originally came here for the cocaine, but thinking about the song, I would like to sail the 7 seas.
I was trying to sign up for Amazon Prime and accidentally joined the Marines. I went to the recruiter to cancel, and now I'm on an aircraft carrier off the coast of South Africa. Worst of all, my packages are still taking forever to deliver.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.
Season 4, just barreling along.
Our last show for Decay for 2024 already.
Absolutely. Wow, how quickly it goes.
Be into the new year. We have already lots of good stuff planned for you.
And I know you're wondering, what did Stacy get me for Christmas? Well, I'll show it off right now. She was kind enough to get me the new Ulcerate record, which was my most listened to disc of the year. So I'll show that off to you guys. It was a very sweet gesture, and this will be a fine addition to the vinyl emporium. But anyway, there's an app that we laugh about a lot that we've never really properly discussed on the show, and this week we're going to really skewer Nextdoor.com.
Yeah, it's besides the endless tirades about why you shouldn't let your cat out. I like people who say it's illegal. It technically isn't in Baltimore County. And do people realize that the speed limit on Taylor is 35? There are some gems between the bathroom remodeling ads if you hang in there.
Examples. Bought tickets to Ice Capades at US Arena by mistake. Went to cancel and accidentally bought them again. Show is on September 9th. 4 tickets for sale. Please help.
I wonder if this person stops for gas 3 times on the way to work and can't understand why the tank is still full. I ordered 4 pizzas and now I can't shut the door to the fridge.
I was trying to sign up for Amazon Prime and accidentally joined the Marines. I went to the recruiter to cancel, and now I'm on an aircraft carrier off the coast of South Africa. Worst of all, my packages are still taking forever to deliver. I said what I said about the cashier at Panera, and you can delete the posts all you want, but she should apologize. Those earbuds were brand new. What? I was shocked to find out that there are people who don't even put up a small tree for Christmas. How could anyone not want to spread a little Christmas spirit? I work at Taco Bell. First of all, they're called Jewish people. And second of all, why do we need to know the Taco Bell thing, Janet?
Maybe we can send her little taco ornaments.
112 replies.
I like when you get the notifications. Mandy just joined Nextdoor and she is in your neighborhood. Welcome her with a virtual gift. Virtual cookies, flowers, or confetti. I was looking for the virtual middle finger selection or perhaps a jarring moon out the car window. But I guess I need to pay for the upgrade for that one.
We can afford that shit. All right. A picture of a Panda Express bag. And the caption is, Alicia T., if you were the one that ordered sweet and sour sauce last night, an old guy delivered it at 3 a.m. Sorry I called the cops. Not sure why they tased him. Anyway, this food is delicious.
It's a study in craziness. There's a cute post about bringing a homeless man out of the cold, frozen solid, 2 black button eyes, a carrot for a nose, apparently melted all over our kitchen floor. Of course, someone has to post, "Never bring a stranger into your house. That's how my niece was molested."
You must be a fun guy at parties.
Wow, you're not getting anything. No, nothing's penetrating.
Still recovering from COVID. I think I had it last month. Everyone have a good day. 94 replies.
Wow, over nothing.
I don't get it. This person must be related to the Taco Bell person. It's like posting, "I went to the dry cleaner. We'll probably pick up my shirts on Thursday. Love conquers all."
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. Need last-minute help for my kids. Please inbox me. Could you be less specific? Do you need parenting advice? Help with some project involving poster board? Used cribs? Advice on the soapbox derby? Bail money? I mean, specifics, people.
How about this one? I went to a Christmas party last night. What do you think of the elf costumes? I don't own this music. Pretty slick, Kanisha. Those lawyers were already writing your cease and desist order for unauthorized reproduction of the electric slide.
Plus, I don't think elves are supposed to have half their butt hanging out, if you must know. I need someone to light my luminaries.
Oh, my.
517 Easton
Get
Lane.
an address. Oh, my.
Is that what they're calling it these days?
Caught my husband cheating last week, so Christmas is canceled at my house. Anyone looking for a nice 6-foot spruce with lots of personalized ornaments of a family living a blissful farce with a philanderer can find it right off the ramp at outbound exit 24. At least that's as far as I was able to chuck it from the back of the truck.
Exterminator needed for a mouse problem. We've spotted 3 so far, and you should see how they run. Need to supply your own carving knife. Serious inquiries only, as I've never seen such a sight in my life.
I'm starting to question the authenticity of these. A popular headline is, "So this is how low someone was willing to go." Clickbait. When you click on it, there's some grainy picture you can hardly make out. Turns out someone left an empty bottle of hand sanitizer on Betty's lawn. Oh, the humanity. Not sure whether we're incensed at the litter or the fact that someone is walking around unsanitized.
Scandalous.
116 comments from like-minded ethyl alcohol commandos. Our collective hygiene is going down the tubes.
Suspicious vehicle seen delivering packages at 2 a.m. Large brown van. Face hidden under the brim of a brown baseball hat. Incriminatingly wearing shorts in the middle of winter. Authorities contacted. If you see this, call 911.
Is incriminatingly a word?
It is now.
I like to respond to every post with the same comment. It's this kind of thing that landed my nephew a nickel at Walpole. It goes down well in lost cat and restaurant recommendation threads.
The Village people crafted a very specific type of lyric. I wonder if there were ever folks at the disco that night that thought, I originally came here for the cocaine, but thinking about the song, I would like to sail the 7 seas. I want to protect the motherland.
Of course, the line, "They're signing up new seamen fast," is a bit questionable. But it's not just that song. How many young men found themselves thinking, you know what? I am tired of getting my ass kicked in school. I want to be a macho man. My own lifestyle and ideals? A special god in anybody's land? Sign me up.
Then, of course, there's YMCA. I think I am down and out with the blues. I can get myself clean. I can have a good meal. Always been curious about that place. I can hang out with all the boys.
Okay, want to talk about our feature interview?
Our feature interview this week is with Steve Alvord, guitarist and singer for Mindwars. We have a great visit with Steve, who is full of stories from his time in the legendary thrash band Holy Terror. We get into the making of their excellent new Mindwars album 5 and discuss our favorite tracks, as well as how he was able to switch into the lead vocalist role. We enjoy multiple geek outs from Michael Schenker to Zepp to J.A.R. Tolkien and beyond. So stay tuned for that.
Check out this riff. This is The Road to Madagascar. Okay, let's talk about Patreon. The site is patreon.com/snaggletoothpodcasts. And for $6.66 a month, you get a runaway rickshaw full of Mark and Stace, crammed with exclusive content that you can't find anywhere else. But on the YouTube side,
First of all, I'd like to welcome some of our new subscribers since the last show. Danny P, Drovia, Jackie Chan Do Metal, and of course, Santa E Cock Vomit.
we finally got him.
So welcome all. Remember to subscribe to our channel. And for less than you spend at Starbucks, remember you can join our Patreon and get all that extra exclusive content.
Yeah, on the Patreon side, I just finished Del Brogham's book. He is the lead guitar player for Stray, the English classic rock band. I'll be reviewing that on the show. And I just started reading John Corabi's book, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. That's going up soon. Stace got me a book from the makers of Decibel magazine, the top 25 extreme metal records of all time. Lots of book reviews headed over to Patreon. So be sure to get over there and subscribe so you don't miss anything. YouTube wise, lots of great comments on the Dan Leiker interview and the horror interview. Keep them coming. Stacy's Spider God review is very popular. We appreciate it. Make sure that you're subscribed to this channel as well as our other channel, the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast. That way, every week you'll have a stiff dose of Mark and Stace. Oh my. Round 3 begins. Hit it.
And now it's time for Obnoxious Trivia!
I'm doing mental push-ups. I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. How deep is the deepest point of the ocean located in the Mariana Trench, southwest of Guam? The Challenger Deep, named for the first crew to record its death, measures how many feet deep? 362 feet deep, 3,620 feet deep, 36,200 feet deep, or 360,220 feet deep?
I didn't know you were going to get all Hunt for Red October on my ass. Let's see. The ocean is the least explored of mankind's exploits, apparently. So,
and this is, they do a small disclaimer that the ocean's still kind of largely unexplored, but this is the deepest one found so far.
I'm going to say B, 3,620 feet deep.
It's C, 36,200 feet deep.
How tall are the Himalayas?
Yeah, you could probably fit them.
Wow. All right, I'm off to my usual great start.
I thought would be a little holidays trivia. The first artificial Christmas trees were produced in Berlin in the 1880s. What were the needles made of? A, woven green yarn. B, wood shards painted green. C, thin strips of tinfoil. Or D, goose feathers dyed green.
Wow. I'm going to go with B, wood shards painted green.
The correct answer is goose feathers dyed green.
I gotta start going by gut. That was my first thing.
Yeah, they actually they actually use different kind of feathers, but predominantly goose feathers and on like wire. Crazy, right? I wouldn't have gone with that either.
All right, rolling right along. This is going so well.
Before Santa had the reindeer, which actually started with the poem The Night Before Christmas, Santa was supposed to deliver gifts riding what? A, an elephant. B, a horse. C, a donkey. Or D, a sled pulled by dogs.
I'm going to go with an elephant right out of the blocks. A.
Santa was not an elephant rider. He originally was thought to ride a donkey, and he would ride past cottages and put coins into poor houses so the women had a dowry.
I'm going to stick with elephant. Sorry. All right, let's close it out.
How many cities or towns use exclamation points in their formal, meaning on the map, names? A, none. B, 2. C, 4. Or D, 6.
Provo, Utah. C4.
The correct answer is B, 2.
Really? What are they?
There's Westward Ho,
Okay.
which is in near Devonshire, England. It's a little seaside town. It was named after the book, which has an exclamation point. And the other's in Quebec. It's like called haha, and it actually has 2 exclamation points.
Excellent round. Oh, for 4 again. This has been Obnoxious Trivia. Mark nails it again. Yes. All right, it's time for our Snaggletooth. Let's go, Stace.
All right, this little segment is called For Those About to Gift Shift. They exist in every family. There's that person that starts bugging you for your Christmas list around the middle of October so they can get a jump on shopping. Then when you finally oblige them, they profoundly ignore everything you asked for, opting instead for an obvious regift or coming out of left field with something you won't even be able to regift.
My parents were terrible gift givers. One year I was really strapped for cash and I couldn't afford my contact lenses. So it was like $150 for a 6-month supply. I got all the information from my ophthalmologist, gave them the prescription, and I figured that's about what they would spend on me anyway. Instead, they opted to get us a set of monogram bath mats. I guess they could tell my monogramming budget wasn't what it used to be. Who needs vision when you've got snappy restroom decorations? Geez, I can't even confirm if these monograms are correct because I can't fucking see, but thanks anyway, Mom.
You know, I dated a guy that gave me earrings after we had been dating for almost a year. This seemed so romantical until I had to break to him the obvious fact that my ears are not even pierced. I mean, really, did you even think to check for holes? Or how about this, that I, in fact, never wear earrings of any sort? What an asshat. He was horrible.
I know where all her holes are, just for the record.
You know, the next year he got me a smiley, bright yellow coffee mug. Wouldn't that make all the girls swoon? And some plain blue bed blanket. It was a fucking quilt, not a fluffy comforter like I like. Yes, thanks. These things will come in handy when I'm sleeping alone because, boom, I just broke up with you for the second time.
Another relative likes to bug us for multiple suggestions and then promptly ignores all of them. This year, I asked for 1, a subscription to my favorite magazine, 2, some lighting equipment for the podcast, 3, the new Black Crowes album, and 4, if all else fails, my favorite IPA is called Founders Centennial. I can never get enough of that. Imagine my surprise when I unwrapped the skull-shaped doorstop she picked out. But to be fair, she also did throw in a book on smoking meat because all men are into that sort of thing, apparently.
We don't even have a smoker. You know, I had another jerk get me a 6-pack for Christmas and then proceed to drink 4 of them. So this is really for you, right? Another one got me a Roomba that I was actually quite fond of. Alas, he took it with him when I gave him his walking papers. I get sad every time I saw the vacuum app on my phone because that vacuum sucked as much as he did.
Then there are the gifts that are borderline insulting. Like our daughter forced her fiancé to put electric toothbrush heads on his list, and when he opened them in front of us, he expressed her thanks, indicating that his breath stinks. Because apparently no one clued him in on tongue brushing, he had to get a cutting blow from his bride to be in front of everyone.
I could tell it was a proud moment for him. Inadvertently, not knowing the backstory, I also got him body wash and soap. And he was like, okay, I get the message.
Yeah, I felt bad. And we'll close with possibly the lamest gift I ever received, which was again from my parents, and they spent quite a bit on it. It was during a time when my kids were little and there was so much that we did need. They spent like $300 to get my bachelor's degree framed, the actual piece of paper. I'll tell you what, dragging that thing around to job interviews didn't feel efficient at all. I couldn't even lock my car because it stuck out like a surfboard. All right, this has been our latest Snaggletooth for those about to gift shift. Let's play a song. This is Mindwars with Chasing the Wind. Okay, let's talk about Coffee AM.
So once again this year, being busy as everyone is during the holidays, I forgot to order our coffee. I think we woke up Christmas Eve or morning to no coffee. One of those. Anyway, you had to go to the store, and it's never quite as good as Coffee AM. I am guessing from this little online company out of Georgia that it's because when you place your order, they roast your thing that day, whatever you order, and they send it out to you. You can get whole bean, French press, or drip grind. You can have anything you want put on the bag. Ours say Mark and Stace. We just got, thankfully, a new order. They always have great seasonal flavors. This is Christmas cookies coffee, which has much less calories than the actual Christmas cookies,
I hope so.
which I did not bake this year. Some other examples. Oh god, this smells so good. This is chocolate raspberry coffee. And you can smell it right through the bag. This one is a caramel pecan roll coffee. Also, far less calories than the actual pecan roll.
The sad part is that besides these 3 huge bags of coffee, the kids got us like 6 pounds more coffee. We have enough coffee now to choke a camel.
So we are all set. If anyone wants to send us gifts, send whiskey. We're full up on coffee.
Yeah. Alcohol is always recommended.
But anyway, we always notice when we run out of coffee AM because the stuff at the grocery store just does not compare. This gets FedEx to your door. Use our link. It will save you off your first order with coffee AM.
Okay. I guess what time it is. It's time for
Bombastic.
Bombastic Plastic. Okay, so this week on Bombastic Plastic, we're going to talk about the album from Immortal Sense, Call It Anything. Another spectacular disc that sat unplayed in shrink wrap for close to 15 years. Am I the only one that has this problem? For those of you that are unfamiliar with why I have this situation, I encourage you to check out our review of Cephalic Carnage's Xenosapiens from a couple of weeks ago, where I over-explain it to the point of ridiculousness.
This CD from the Japanese metalcore band ENEMA, who had just changed their name to Immortal Sense around 2010, when it was sent to me, formed in 2001 and cranked out a demo and a split before dropping this incendiary device to the reaction of absolutely no one, including us, apparently.
Hey, I have to chalk it up to artwork. Anyone who has spent hours coveting an OBI strip, and all of us have, anyone will tell you that heavy music from this part of the world has always been highly coveted in the States. We jumped on stuff like Acrostics, Demolition, Cloud9, Green Machine. Yes, you should be writing all these down. Great Japanese bands. But the combination of this band's new moniker and that artwork, which looked like my grandmother's wallpaper, it just didn't grab our attention. So this just got unjustly shelved by not only mine, but many review sites. So let's play a song, get an idea what we're talking about. This is a clip from Immortal Sense. It's a shame, really, because this 5-piece really had something special with Call It Anything, despite the terrible title. Crushing melodic death metal packed with distinctive guitar harmonies, wild tempo changes, gang choruses, and charmingly woofy vocals, courtesy of frontman Katsuya Nakoka. But what really makes this album stand out is riffs, and more riffs, often hard pan and just packed with thrills like the early days of the Big Four records. The ornate solos and tightness made me think of their contemporaries at the time, like All That Remains and Shatterfall in terms of quality, but vocally they're much more abrasive with touches of metalcore in all the right places. The album consists of 10 songs, mostly running in the 3 to 5 minute range, with lyrics mostly in Japanese, but with a line or two of English sprinkled in here and there for good measure.
Oh, I wonder if they were putting this out and the label said, "What do you want to call it?" And they said, "Oh, call it anything." And they're like, "Okay." The riff racing title track is a good place to start as any. The wild rush of its frenetic thrash pace, stepping into a fantastic lead around the 2.5 minute mark that segs perfectly into an uber melodic twin melody that will just melt your icy heart. Drummer Yamaguchi Tomoyoko peppering the latter half of the track with blast beats as it rides itself out. Duel is another ripper, galloping out of the blocks with pulsing twin leads and meaty riffing that kicks down to about halftime, 3 minutes in, so that guitarist Kurosawa and Yenu can show off their slower, howling lead style for a few bars before Tamayuki hits the gas pedal once again, dragging us into crazed, thrashing rage. Senpin Banka dials in some impressive warm bass virtuosity from 4-stringers Sanbo Yasunori as well.
It's nice to finally give this album the attention it deserved years ago, and as much as I hate to admit it, you just can't underestimate the power of the almighty album cover. It turns out that the band just put out a 2-CD compilation this year that includes all of the ENEMA demo material as well as this Immortal Sense album, and the cover, thankfully, is much more menacing and disturbing, And it's enough to make up for their visual misstep years ago. So check out this song. This is War to Myself. All right, should we introduce the interview?
This is our interview with Steve. We really enjoyed our chat, our geek outs, more information about Holy Terror.
Super nice guy.
Great band with Mindwars that he has going on right now. If you haven't checked them out yet, definitely right after this interview, get over there and check it out.
All my burning, itching, swelling questions about Holy Terror have been answered, so check this out. Yeah.
So what are your favorite memories from your Holy Terror days?
Yeah, there's a ton. I don't know how much you know about the way the wheels fell off, but there were a lot of dark times,
Yeah.
but there were a lot of great times. I mean, I think one thing that sticks out to me more than anything is when we all got along, how well we all got along.
Yeah.
I mean, from the time Terror and Submission was recorded until just about the ending of the first leg of the US tour in '88 supporting Mindwars, we were all like brothers. The age gap was pretty wide. I was the youngest, and it was either Keith or Floyd were the oldest, and they were 10 years older than me. So that's a pretty big gap when you're younger. When you're older, the 10-year gap's not as big a deal, but when you're younger, it's a little bit different. But what was really unique is I have a sister who's 10 years older than me. And so a lot of our musical tastes were very similar. Yeah. And I think that's what allowed us to really merge our personalities. So I think one of the best memories was just how well we got along. We would all go to Kurt's place. Kurt had it was almost like a full acre in the middle of the San Fernando Valley. And we would all just go there and hang out and party and just, and it like I said, like brothers. One of the other big memories and definitely career highlights was opening 4 shows for Motorhead.
Oh.
We got to open in Northern California, a couple shows, the Santa Monica Civic, and down in Irvine in Southern California. Death Angel was on that bill too, all 4 shows. That was huge. I've been a Motorhead fan since high school, and that was just a complete.
Like, what year was this? Like, about?
I think it was 87. No, 88. It was 88.
Okay, gotcha.
It was December of 88. In fact, I think I saw online today, it was this day in 88 that we played the Santa Monica Civic with Motorhead. I think I saw that today. I think I might have put it on my phone. I think I saved Friday, December 16th, Friday at 7 p.m. in 1988. It was their rock and roll, I think, tour.
Oh, rock
and it was us opening for Motorhead, and then Death Angel was also on that.
That was still Filthy on drums then, wasn't it?
Yes, I think, it was. It was.
Awesome.
Yeah. And, everybody tells wonderful stories of how kind Lemmy was. They're all true.
Yeah.
For him, when we played the first show, I think it was in Oakland, for him to walk around to each of us and give us a t-shirt. I mean, come on, he didn't owe us anything. And then at Santa Monica, he dedicated Killed by Death to Holy Terror. I mean, it's like, why? This guy is, the godfather of metal, of thrash, really. I mean, they were rock and roll, but he was just a kind person. So that was definitely a highlight. The band formed in 85. And so how old was I in 85? I was 19. And just having that opportunity to play with those guys, because they were Kurt, Floyd, and Joe were seasoned musicians. Kurt and Floyd in Seattle were playing the cover band circuit for a couple years before they came back down to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I was just out of high school, and I was just like some punk kid. But yeah, so I don't know. Those are some of the highlights of my time with Holy Terror.
It always seemed to me like you guys were just a little bit, you were a little bit heavier than the other. Like, well, let me just explain. My local record store, we're from Baltimore, and my local record store, I could always tell when a band was a little too heavy by the used copies of their vinyls. You guys had a lot of used copies that were returned. The first Pestilence album, Dark Angel, Darkness Descends, and I was like, okay, the Anthrax people, this is too much for them. You know what I mean? And so I would snatch them up, $5.99 for the record,
Yeah.
And I always put you guys in there along with like Morbid Saint and even like Hell Witch. Did that affect you guys touring? Did you feel like you were kind of heavier than the mainstream thrash?
Yeah, I think so. And I think part of that for us was we toured with DRI. And DRI
wow.
was a punk band. They were starting the crossover, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were a punk band. And one of the things Kurt always said was that our band never got much respect from anybody. And it was kind of true. And maybe that's the case. It was just it was too much for some people.
Like
What was
I was
coming.
convinced that you guys, I thought you guys were European for the longest time. Like when I was a young Overkill t-shirt, I was like, oh no, these guys have got to be from the UK or
Yep.
something. It's so dark, but no, American. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and Kurt always said when I first met him, he said, I want to play Maiden on 78. That's what he was shooting for. And so
Yeah.
we definitely had that sort of we definitely had that new wave of British heavy metal. I mean, so not only did we all like Deep Purple, Sabbath, Zeppelin, came from that era, we also liked the new wave of British heavy metal stuff. Now, and then Joe was sort of the wild card, and Keith, because neither one of those guys knew anything about new wave of British heavy metal or thrash.
Wow.
Joe, when he first tried out for the band, after we parted with Jack Schwartz, Joe's one of his influences was Mahavishnu Orchestra, and I'm
Okay.
like, what the heck? But Kurt was a big Zappa fan, and so was Joe.
Yeah.
And so we just really had a lot of eclectic and different. We weren't really influenced by a lot of US bands. And so maybe
Yeah.
that's where some of that came from as well. I don't know if you've heard anything about Terror and Submission, but we had just some no-name engineer. He knew nothing about metal. He knew nothing, let alone thrash.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Kurt wasn't very happy with the mix of that album or anything because the guy didn't know anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's the deal with the hang on, I remember the name of it. You did where was it? Just bear with me. Okay, yeah. When you did it looks like, and Jack Endino did Shark Chum. And then when you did the
Yes.
El Revenjo, he only did a few songs. He didn't do all of them. Like, what was the story there? Why didn't he do the whole comp?
Yeah, that's a question for Kurt. So when Holy Terror broke up in '89, I lost contact with all those guys for well over a decade.
Okay.
Oh.
And there was this guy, Scott Lambert, who reached out, found me somehow, found Kurt somehow. It was actually this guy, Tom Hutchinson, who had, the internet wasn't even really around much in late 90s, early 2000s.
Right,
And this
right.
guy, Tom Hutchinson, had a website that had his three favorite bands. And I think it was Armored Saint, Holy Terror, and some other band. And so this guy, Scott Lambert, saw that, and somehow they got a hold of me, they got a hold of Kurt, and that's really where Kurt and I reconnected. But we only reconnected online through email. And so when he was putting out El Revenjo, I just happened to have digitized all of our VHS video footage from our tour, and I put it to digital, and I said, hey, do you want it for the album? He said, yeah, sure. So I sent it up to him. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened with that. I do know Kurt, somehow this guy Scott ended up with all the tapes from our recordings. And so that could have been part of it too. Maybe Kurt
Okay.
only got some back or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Was it a truth, any truth to the story that Kurt almost got in a fight with Dave Mustaine?
Yeah. Yeah. So I know. We opened for Megadeth at the country club. And you know, whether it happened or not, Kurt felt that Dave was hitting on his girlfriend, Vicky.
Which he probably was.
And he probably was. And Kurt got
probably was.
pissed off and wanted to kick his ass. And then I remember Kurt said, so we bought a bunch of empty 412 cabinets. So it looked like we had full,
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah.
10 rows of stacks.
Right.
And so Kurt was pissed. And he said, we're going to load them up and we're going to put them up on stage. I don't care what Dave says, we're going to do it. And so we did. When we opened for them, we had this wall of speaker cabinets because Kurt was so pissed off about it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I have a story about, so, gosh, I must have been, well, when did Megadeth start? When did,
85. He got kicked out of Metallica in 85, right? Yeah.
okay.
No. 83 was
So-
when he got kicked out of Metallica because that was Kill 'Em All.
Yes.
So the
Yeah,
Megadeth
because it was
started
before-
85 was the first album. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So this was before I graduated from high school. So it was either late 83, early 84. And I don't remember how I heard about this, but Dave was looking for guitar players. So I was, 16 maybe, 17 maybe. And my buddy and I drove down to Hollywood. We got off at Gower Street. Dave lived in an apartment. We go up to the apartment, second floor, knock on the door. I don't remember who opened the door. Someone opened the door, and over in the distance, Dave Mustaine's sitting there, and he calls us over, and we walk over, and we sit down, and we chat with him a little bit. We go into his bedroom. He has one of those old style cassette recorders, and he goes, I want you to hear some of our songs. And so he presses play, and I got to imagine it was what ended up being on Killing Is My Business. I imagine it was those songs. I have no, real memory of that. And he goes, do you think you can play this? I said, yeah, why not? And he goes, okay, we're rehearsing somewhere downtown at like 2 a.m. And I'm thinking to myself, shit, I can't go down there. My mom's not going to let me go down there. I was like, I don't know, 16 or 17 years old. And so I never showed up. I'm like, okay, I'll see you there. And so I went home and that was it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That reminds me of Eddie Murphy. He talks about like when he was first starting out, he had a show when he was like a teenager and he bombed and he was supposed to get paid $20 for the show and they wouldn't pay him. So he couldn't get a cab home. So he had to call his father. And the whole ride home, his father's like, all right, Mr. Comedian, you're getting a fucking job tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like to me,
Well, that was exactly it because my parents were still together at the time. They divorced, I think the year I graduated, or the year after. And my dad was adamant. I wasn't going to play music. I was going to college.
Yeah.
This was it. And so I was like, okay, I better get home.
That is a great story. That really is. Yeah.
You are such a fabulous guitarist. What made you want to, pick up a guitar in the first place?
Yeah.
So remember I told you my sister's 10 years older than me. Believe it or not, my sister married the boy next door.
Oh, wow.
And so in 1977, my two favorite things were Kiss and baseball.
Okay.
I thought I was going to be the next Steve Garvey and play for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And my sister, then boyfriend, now husband, took me to see Kiss on the Alive 2 Love Gun tour at the Forum. And my jaw dropped. I got home that night. The next day I told my mom, I said, Mom, I want to learn how to play the guitar. Yeah. That is what inspired me to start playing. They were larger than life. I was 11. And it just, how impressed was that for me?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what did it for me. And then my all-time favorite guitarist, I'm a diehard Zeppelin fan. I mean, I love everything Jimmy Page has done. But for some reason, I've always loved the taste of Michael Schenker.
Okay.
So that he's really my favorite guitar player. That's why I use the wah pedal a lot. It's not Kirk Hammett, but that's why he uses it a lot too.
Yeah, but
Because Michael Schenker used it.
Michael Schenker's interviews are great because he's a little,
Oh yeah, he's a lot.
I love interviews with Michael Schenker. Like if a magazine says Michael Schenker interview like nowadays interview, I'm buying it because
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's still angry at Rudy for the liner notes of Love Drive. I mean, it's 2024,
I know. It's
crazy.
it is crazy. It is crazy.
Anyway, yeah.
We went to see Schenker play. This was me and some buddies. Gosh, I don't remember how many years ago, but it was a work night, right? So you got to get up early to go to work the next day. He didn't hit the stage until after 1 a.m.
Oh my God.
He just, I'm sure he was drunk. He just dragged it out. We didn't get home because this was in Ventura, which is like an hour and a half from the San Fernando Valley where I was living. I mean, I didn't get home till like 4 a.m. or whatever, and, get up by 6 the next day. But that, it's Michael Schenker. I couldn't leave.
Yeah. Well, to me, the funny part of the whole thing is that Rudy has gotten over the fact that UFO stole him from the Scorpions. That's fine. But he's still mad about the liner notes on Love Drive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wild.
What are you going to do? It's crazy. Yeah.
So we've been spinning a lot of Mind Wars. We got these new microphone stands, and I think they're better, but they get a little wonky.
Yeah.
I actually could hear a lot of your vocal delivery. It reminded me of Dave, a little kind of Megadeth. Who do you get compared to most often, and do you agree or disagree with those?
Yeah, I hear some of the Dave Mustaine. I don't get that a lot. What I mostly get is Alice Cooper.
Okay.
And, my very first metal album, if we want to call Alice Cooper metal,
Sure.
I was in the 2nd grade. My dad was working for Capitol Records, I think it was. And for whatever reason, he gives me $1 Billion Babies when I'm in 2nd grade.
Oh, wow.
So yes, Kiss got me to want to be, but that's what started my path and the corruption in my brain, I think, from music. I mean, there's a lot of crazy shit on that album.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's Alice Cooper is probably the most.
Well, I mean, Alice has written a couple books, but the really good book about Alice Cooper is by Shep Gordon. Because Shep Gordon, as the manager, he tells stories about how he figured out that it wasn't good enough to be on the cover of the music magazine. You had to be on the cover of the newspaper. Like you want to be in the music news, you want to be in the news.
Right.
So Shep Gordon's book is great. Like the manufactured situations that he would do to create outrage. Great stuff. Yeah.
I should read that. Yeah, that's
hard to believe in today's world, but like he would set up like he would make sure that like a billboard on the back of a truck with Alice naked with a snake wrapped around him would break down in the middle of Times Square at just the right time. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like he calculated all that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
What Knocked Loose, what just happened with them when they went on, I love them. And when they went on Jimmy Kimmel and people were outraged that he had that kind of act on. I was like, hello, did you see who opened up for the Olympics this year? Hello.
Yeah.
Exactly.
People don't want their feathers ruffled,
But I think in the end, it's good news for them. It's press.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah.
But I appreciate the comparison to Mustaine because, I do, I'm not a vocalist, right? I mean, I've only been doing this for, I guess Mindwars has been together for 11 years now. So I guess I've been doing it that long, but I never fancied myself. I'm starting to feel like one now. I'm starting to feel like I can at least write vocal melodies different than the way I write guitar.
Yeah. I think Dave never planned to sing. Lemmy never planned to sing.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
it's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So I love we've got your cover up
Right,
behind
right.
us. I love it. What was the
I see it.
significance?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, at first when you see it, you're like, it's a V, okay. But then when you look close and you see all the demons burning in hell, it's
People
great.
hell or demons or both?
So if you've looked for our catalog, there's the cover is incorporated in that. Every cover is incorporated into that V.
Wow.
Nice. Okay.
Now, usually that would indicate, right? Because didn't like, I think Metallica did a great, or not Metallica, Iron Maiden did a greatest hits and they had different eddies from all the different albums or
Right.
something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I think that's usually what people do. So our very first album, and I don't know why I came up with this, but I had this idea of a guy, some person that was trapped in this sort of what we are dealing with social media now. It wasn't social media at the time because it was 2013. I guess it could have been social media, but just trapped and stuck in devices. And so our drummer, Robbie, he says, well, what are you going to call this guy? Is he going to be the band mascot? And I'm like, sure. I said, let's call him Wally. And he's like, well, why Wally? Well, my favorite movie of all time is Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
And if you ever seen that, Marlon Brando's character was Walter Kurtz. And so that's how I came up with Wally. And he sat on this Wally character sat on every single album except for the fourth one. We sort of broke free of that character. And if you look at the fourth album, the fourth turning,
I like the cover on that album a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy who did that, but I can't remember his name, but he was the only one that did something different for us too. But if you look at the building, right, it's sort of the end of the world. If you look at the building, the lights in the middle buildings spell out the end.
Oh, cool.
And it was sort of a double thought, right? I mean, because we were just going into the pandemic. It was our fourth album, and we got a little bit of traction, but we weren't doing a whole lot. This was before we played True Thrash Fest in Japan. It was for what we just did this year. I thought it was going to be the ending of Mindwars too. And so that's kind of, I hid that in there sort of subliminally. And at that time, we also brought in Rick Zaccaro, our new bass player. So the band was sort of changing. And I think when I decided for this album cover, I wanted to incorporate everything because it really is the culmination of everything we've started with till now. This album sounds way different than I think anything else. You can still tell it's Mindwars, but it's sort of different. And I wanted to say, put a stamp on this to say that 5 is sort of our next, progression into wherever we're going to go. If we go anywhere. I'm assuming we're going to do a 6th, and I'll have to come up with something different for that album, but we'll see. But we're sort of putting to rest the past of Mindwars and looking to the future. And that's sort of what my thought process was with this album cover.
So when I look up your discography online on Metal Archives, are you torn as a 3-piece now? Like, because some albums have 3 members, some have 4, but then you have guitar harmonies. Like, it's confusing,
It is very confusing. So when we started, Robbie and I met in 1989 when Holy Terror was touring with Exodus and Nuclear Assault in Europe.
Okay.
And Robbie and I met in Milan. And, we hit it off because my mom's family is from Calabria and he's from Calabria. So we sort of hit it off, we were paisans or whatever.
Right.
And we lost course, right? We lost touch through all of the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. And we reconnected on Facebook. So if there's anything that's positive about Facebook, it's that if it wasn't for Facebook, who knows what would have happened. And, I was in Los Angeles. He was in Torino. And he asked me, do you have any music? And I said, yeah, I got some MP3 files. And so I sent him a bunch of MP3s that I had just recorded in my bedroom on GarageBand, and he put some drums to them. And so I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. And he goes, let's put a band together. And I said, how are we going to do that? I'm in Los Angeles, you're in Torino. He's like, hey, I know a guy, Danny Peasy. He plays guitar, but he wants to play bass for us. And I said, okay. He goes, do you know anybody else? I said, no. I go, I know some people, but not anybody that would probably be interested. And he goes, okay, it'll just be the three of us. And I said, well, who's going to sing? And he said, you are. And I'm like, okay, so I'll sing. So the three of us, they came out in 2014, the end of 20, played a few shows in Los Angeles. I think they came out again in 2015. We went into Arizona a little bit. We played Las Vegas. We played San Diego out in 2016, and the three of us played some shows in Italy. We played in Eden. And 2017, Robbie decided to relocate to Los Angeles, to Newport Beach. And Danny's still in Italy. And so we're like, oh, well, what are we going to do now? We want to play live more frequently. We can't without, with Danny in Italy. And so that's when we brought in Rick. And we said, okay, Danny, you could now move to guitar. And so that was really the intent. And he was then going to move out here, but he never did. And so, yes, to the long-winded answer is we are touring as a three-piece. Rick Zaccaro on bass, Robbie Vittori on drums, and me on guitar and vocals.
Okay.
I've always been in two guitar bands.
Of course.
I love Maiden. I love Priest. I love Metallica.
And Lizzie.
I love that two guitar sound.
Yeah.
Thin Lizzy, all of that.
Lizzy.
And so I write that way. And so I play the harmonies. So obviously it's way stripped down when we play live. We still put a powerful punch, but it's definitely stripped down. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're a
definitely.
three piece, you can play a little, play around a little bit with the, you got the, the bass is a lot more prominent. There's great three-piece bands out there that, Motorhead.
Definitely. Motorhead, right? I mean, well, for the longest time.
Thin Lizzy with Eric Bell, so yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Which that shit is crazy. Have you ever tried to learn any of that stuff?
Oh my God.
Like Vagabonds or Look What the Wind Just, it's it's crazy.
Yeah, it is so intricate. Yeah.
Brian Downey is just all over the place.
Just all over the place. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Nobody ever talks about those early, the Eric Bell, Thin Lizzy, but that stuff is like space signals to me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 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 And it's interesting because that's another one that, Thin Lizzy got popular, but they never made it to that next huge level.
Yeah. Brian Robertson was an asshole.
Yeah.
Every single time they lined it up, he screwed it up for him.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Maybe that's why Lemmy got rid of him too, right?
Oh, those stories are great. But how great is that album with Another Perfect Day? That might be the best Motorhead album of all.
It's such a great album.
It's
such
so
a great
good.
album.
Robertson, as great as he was on that, he couldn't wait to shoot himself in the foot as soon as the tour came around.
I know.
And you know what? We've all had friends like that. That's the thing, right? When you read the stories, you're you can almost predict what he's going to do.
What's going to happen?
Fucking ballerina slippers. Yep. I know a guy that would have fucking done that shit.
Dolphin short.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, I had a few track-specific questions about this one. I love the Road to Madagascar. We had it on in the car the other day. And that when you guys hit that groove and it's like Robbie's a beast.
That one riff.
Oh my God, that repeats. That could go on for 20 minutes.
Please play this for 10 minutes. Yes, that riff. Yes, it's so great. Yeah.
We actually play it live. And believe it or not, in January, right before we started recording the album, it wasn't even going to be on the album. It wasn't even in my head. It's sort of it's kind of an emotional story. So I never knew this, but there was something called the Madagascar Plan that Hitler had, where he was going to send all the Jews to Madagascar. Well, so how I learned this in Simi Valley, which is a small little town in Southern California, just adjacent to Los Angeles, they have the Reagan Library, and they had the Holocaust exhibit. And so I went to see the Holocaust exhibit. It was such an emotional exhibit. I mean, everybody knows about the Holocaust, but I learned so many things that I had never known.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that stuck out to me was this Madagascar Plan. And so I remember getting home that night, and that opening riff just came to me. I have no idea. And I wrote out the whole song. I sent it to Rick and Robbie. They're like, well, this is great. Well, do you have lyrics? And I said, no, I don't have lyrics. And I don't know that I want lyrics.
Yeah.
And so Robbie goes, okay, just do it as an instrumental. He goes, what are you going to call it? And I said, The Road to Madagascar. And so that's kind of how that came out. It was, I've always had riffs rattling around in my brain, and, some are good and some are shit. And, I look to others to tell me what's shit. And I kind of know when it's good, but not always. Sometimes other people have to tell me, no, that really is good, Mike. I'm like, are you sure? And Robbie goes, that one has to be on the album. And same with Rick. And Robbie wanted to open the record with that. And Rick said, no, we can't have an instrumental open. I'm like, okay, whatever. And so we put it, I don't know what it's like, third or fourth on the track listing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good showcase, for all the instruments. I mean, it's absolutely got some jaw-dropping moments.
Yeah. I made the mistake of, I was a German major in college, right? And I continued to take it because I was getting good grades in the class, and the language I thought was easier than English. But then I started learning German history. And then my parents would start to tell stories about what they thought happened in the Holocaust. And I would be like, it's so much worse than that. And I'll never tell you, because I had to learn it. As a German major, you learn all the history, all the way from Bismarck, all the way through communism, everything.
Right. And this is being put into your head. I know.
The only thing that kind of saved me was the classes were all in German. So you were not allowed to speak English at all. So it was always a little fuzzy. I would be like, did they really rip their fillings out? Is that what I'm hearing? Well, I'm not sure. That can't be that bad. Yes, it was that bad. Yes, they ripped out their gold fillings and melted them into bars. Yes, it was so bad. Yeah.
It is crazy.
Horrible.
Are you a Rush fan?
Oh, God, so much, yes.
So have you read Geddy Lee's book?
I'm halfway through it.
Okay.
There's a lot in there about his parents and being Jewish.
Yeah.
And when it was his father died, I guess, and then the lack of
yeah.
It's a
pretty
little
heavy.
darker
The
than
first
I
two
wasn't
chapters are pretty
expecting. I kind of wanted to hear about how we rode hemispheres, frankly.
Right.
But it's a lot.
Exactly.
I don't know, I'm sure that's bad to say, but yeah.
No, I know. I mean, I wasn't expecting it either. And then when
Yeah.
you get towards the end, he talks about Neil, and that was hard too. It's a pretty emotional book. I was
really is.
fortunate enough. He did a book tour.
Oh,
And I went to see him in Los Angeles on the book tour, which was cool. And Jack Black was the interviewer. So it was great. It was hysterical.
It is, yeah.
Speaking of Rush, Beneath the Trees kind of reminded me of that whole thing with the trees, the warring trees.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if that kind of had anything to do with that, the war to save the trees. And
Yep, it is. It has to do with that, and it also has to do with Lord of the Rings. If you remember, I don't know if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, but the Ents, right? When they go to war, they march through.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the two things that song. Yeah. So you're good. You're good. She's really good.
Isn't she? She is. She is.
yeah, but I kept when I was listening to it at first, I kept thinking it was called Rise Up. And I'm like, wait, where am I missing this? And then I'm like, oh, you dork. It's
Well, there's a cross section there, right? Rush has the Necromancer and
Yeah, yeah.
there's, or am I, yeah, there's Token slash Rush. There's crossroads there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
could tie it all together.
Just like with
Yeah.
Zeppelin.
No, I was just going to say, from the darkest depths of Mordor, I found a girl so fair. That's all I was going to say.
Absolutely. That's the Ramble On. I said that's the song I want at my funeral for me. That's my favorite Zeppelin song. But the rise up are the trees, right? The trees rising, to go to war.
Trees. Yeah.
I love that.
Mhm.
When and also, for a stand at the gates of your mind, it seems like it's about like anxiety or like some kind of internalized thing, or what are you guarding your mind from?
Yeah. You hit another one, the nail on the head. I try to write my lyrics open enough so people can interpret any way they want. But I definitely think this album, more than before, I really tried to focus. As a society, we treat mental illness very well, and we stigmatize it. And my wife is a special ed teacher, so she deals with a lot of in the elementary grade, and she deals with a lot of kids that have Asperger's and autism and just all sorts of stuff. And so I've been listening over the past maybe 5 years to a lot of Stoic philosophy. I've been reading. I bought Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and it's really to protect. You're in charge of your emotions, right? You're in charge of whether or not you're going to respond negatively or positively. And so the whole idea behind stand guard at the gates of your mind, you control that. Just try to block out the negative feelings and things like that. So that's kind of where I was going. It's a little more deep than you wanted to get to, but it's kind of, that's where I was thinking.
The lyrics in this form of music they're better than a lot of dark novels. They absolutely are.
Absolutely.
And they don't get nearly enough credit for it either.
No, they don't. They don't.
Yeah.
I mean, some of Geezer's lyrics were incredible. Geezer Butler was one of the best lyricists around.
How about him? How about that old footage of him live? How animated he is. I mean, he is just going off. I mean,
yeah,
just
beyond belief.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
And I remember when they got inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and everybody was sitting at different tables. Like, I wanted to cry. I was like,
right,
this is the greatest heavy band of all time.
Of all time.
And of course, I blamed all of it on Sharon, which is probably the reason. I was like, get her out of there. Okay. All right. So we play a game on the show. Okay. It's called Blaspheming Monikers. Okay. And it's a simple game. Here's how it goes. So there's 5 band names in front of me. One of them is fake. So I'm going to ask you to try to guess which one of these is not a real band. Okay.
Shit. Okay.
Okay. All right. Volcanic War. Incantation War. I'm sorry. Let's try that again. All right. Number 1, Volcanic War. 2, Invocation War. 3, Arachnid War. 4, Alcoholic War. And 5, A Horse Called War. And which one of those sounds like a fake band name?
So, right off the top of my head, A Horse Called War sounds like can't be. It's got to be real because it's so bizarre. And I know there's a lot of bands that worship alcohol, so I can't choose that one. We played we played with a band called End All, and every single one of their songs is about beer. So it can't be that one. I think it's was the third one. What was the third one?
Arachnid War.
Arachnid War. Yeah. I mean, as much as I love the song Black Widow by Alice Cooper, I'm going to say it's Arachnid War.
Oh, very good. You got it.
Did I get it?
That was, look at it, right out of the blocks. Look at you. Yeah. Yeah. All the others are real. Volcanic is Japanese black metal. Invocation is thrash from California. Alcoholic War is from Brazil. And A Horse Called War is UK sludge. So there you go. Excellent job.
I mean, that was just too bizarre to be fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that they made me think of like that scene in Harry Potter when all the
Yeah,
I think Arachnid.
Spiders.
I do think Arachnid War would be a cool name for a band, though. We are.
it would be a good name.
War.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool name. Yeah, and
Well,
the logo potential, you know.
I had a high school band. I called a high school band Black Widow because I loved Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare album.
Well, wasn't Alice Cooper's original band like something spider related? What were they called before
I
they
think
were
so.
Alice?
I think it was. Yeah.
When they were in Phoenix, they were called like, because I remember the logo had like legs or something.
So I had one other question. What is the eighth wonder?
Yeah.
That's a great one too. Now, do I want to tell you what my eighth wonder is? Or do you want to keep that as you figure out what your eighth wonder is? So this song went through quite a few iterations. And it was sort of three separate parts that I merged together. I look at the eighth wonder as, I mean, now I look at it a little differently than when I wrote it. I look at it as social media and the internet, as that they're making those people, the tech giants, are making billions off of our personal information, right? I mean, we're willingly giving it to them. You know, we're taking pictures of our food, and we're doing these live interviews and putting it online, and we're putting pictures of our kids and our family and our pets and our whatever. But we're giving them all of that information, and they're not stealing it, but they're making billions off of us. And so they're the vultures of this eighth wonder. And that's kind of what I was thinking when I wrote that song.
I was kind of hoping we would have put up a little bit more of a fight for our personal information instead of just being like, here you go. My favorite yogurt flavor is cherry. Absolutely. Like I would have thought that we would have been like, well, what are you going to do for me? But none of us did. Yep. We just handed it over.
Yep. Well, and I'm as guilty as the next person. We're all waiting for that like. The more likes you get, you're hoping more people are watching, which is a good thing. You're trying to create a community. But, what I would like is someone to come up with music book and only allow people on that platform that like music or play music. And that's all you can discuss. There's no discussing of politics. There's no discussing of anything unless the music, goes that direction. But, and it's just that. And if you're not in that world, then you can't come in. But that's just.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I was.
The question should be like, who replaced Richie Blackmore in Deep Purple? And you should be, you got 5 seconds. Tommy Bolin? Yeah. You're in. It should be like a Jedi council. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So it looks like you guys are going to be headed back to Japan.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Wow. What was your experience there like?
I hang my head just because of the sheer exhaustion, but it was amazing. Quite frankly, like I said, I was thinking the band was just going to fade away. But MIke, who puts on True Thrash Fest, when he asked us to play, we thought, this is a great opportunity for us. And I honestly believe if we didn't play that, we wouldn't have got asked to play Stormcrusher. And if we didn't play Stormcrusher, I don't think we would have got signed to High Roller Records. So I think, the ball is at least rolling in the right direction.
Yeah.
Japan was amazing. The people were so gracious. The people were so kind. Jero, who's putting on this 3, maybe it's 4 shows. I think we're doing 4 shows. He coordinated with Robbie, or Robbie coordinated with him. He plays in a band called Abigail, which is pretty big.
Oh, I know them. Yeah.
Yeah. And when he asked us to come out, we're like, sure, let's do it. And, it's a long slog for 4 shows, but why not, right? And they were kind enough to ask us to come back, and least we can do is return the favor. And what's interesting is, the culture is so different. Nobody looks at each other on the subway, on their trains. You do not make eye contact. I tried to give this elderly woman my seat. She would not have any of it. I mean, we were packed in. I think it was Shinjuku, which is like one of the busiest train stops in the world. And I was sitting down on our way there or on our way out of there, whatever. And I saw her and I stood up. She would have nothing. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we interviewed Donnie from Riot, and he said that they basically couldn't get arrested in the U.S. like in the late 80s, and they went to Japan, and they were shaking the limousine like the Beatles. Yeah, crazy. I mean, they love rock and roll out there. They love it.
They do. They really do. And I guess it makes sense, right? I mean, they're an island.
Yeah.
And I think the island is about the size of our East Coast, and that's about it. There's not a lick of trash anywhere. The streets are spotless, and there's no trash cans. But we went into like I think it was a Starbucks or whatever, got a cup of coffee, and we're done. And we're like, okay, what do we do with our cups? And Jero, the guy with us, he goes, oh, you bring it back to the hotel and throw it out. I'm like, okay. So I folded it up, put it in my pocket. It's just what you do.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like my son married a girl from Nepal. So they went there for like a month, like in October. And he said it was so weird because, it's very small towns where she's from. And every single person wanted to talk to him and come in my house and eat rice. And after he said, he'd been there a certain couple of days, he's like, oh my God, I'm going to go nuts if I have to go in. And then, or he just wanted to go out to get coffee. But when he expressed that, because he's a guest in that house, they're like, oh no, we'll go get it for you. He's like, no, I want to go out.
Right. I want to walk.
Yeah. Well, when I first met her, she said she was from Nepal, and I censored all my Indiana Jones jokes because I was like, what is it all like rope bridges and shit? And you know what? It is exactly like Indiana Jones in real life. It's long rope bridges. Nepal is exactly the way it looks in that movie for real.
Wild.
The picture she sends me, I'm like, I wouldn't go across that. That looks very unstable.
And there's some guy with like 3 packs stacked high. It's like, oh my God.
He's riding a yak or something. Yeah. It's exactly what you think it is in Nepal.
Right. That's wild. That is so wild.
Well, we hope one day to get you out to Baltimore.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Thank you for answering all our Holy Terror nerd questions. Yeah.
Absolutely. I thank you for asking. I mean, I did this not with the intention, to do much of anything, but, I feel so thankful when people are interested and they appreciate the music that I've been involved in. So I really do appreciate it. It's just hard in the US. So hard. We've been trying to get on different festivals and things, and it's not clicking yet, but we're not going to give up. We're starting to feel the momentum a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe we'll be on the East Coast one day.
You got to start doing the Paul Di'Anno thing. Formerly of Iron Maiden. You got to do the formerly of Holy Terror. Like,
I want to do that, but I also don't want to do that because I don't want to disrespect the legacy of Holy Terror.
Yeah, of course.
Because we were asked to play, what was it? I think Headbangers Open Air Festival or something like that, whatever that big festival is in Europe. But they wanted us to play Holy Terror set. And I'm like, we could play a few songs, but there's no way I can't. We're one guitar band, and I'm not Keith Dean. So, The sounds of decay!
Okay, Sounds of Decay 1 is a new album from Black Curse, Burning in Celestial Poison.
Another great band out of Denver, Colorado. The 5-piece known as Black Curse, originally Malibus, formed back in 2015 and have been on our radar big time since their crushing 2020 debut, Endless Wound. The follow-up release this past October is 6 slices of brutal war metal that should be the cat's meow for fans of Archgoat, Black Witchery. You know, the devil's quality music. They've recruited a new bass player in Steve Peacock,
also known as Ephemeral Dominastica,
who is also one of the masterminds behind another favorite of ours, Spirit Possession. This album consists of 5 songs, 4 of which eclipse the 7-minute range. According to their Bandcamp page, besides 45 minutes of brain-trampling death metal, we also get 4 curses they've thoughtfully woven into the lyrics. Now how much would you pay?
See what we're talking about here? This is a bit of spleen girt with serpent. Hopefully that little sneak peek got your attention. Drummer Zach Coleman, aka Antinom, comes across as an 8-legged monster of sorts, blasting and rolling in commanding fashion throughout these epic tracks with vast, expansive snare tones. You should be familiar with guitarist vocalist Eli Wendler, as he's also the drummer and vocalist in Spectral Voice. Here, he delivers all vocals in the form of a relentless, horrifying scream, caked in reverb. And in a strange way, his meter and style sort of enhances the power of the percussion in a way that only experts in war metal know how to conjure. The song we're going to play for you is a good example of the band's relentless power. 4 minutes of speedball pounding leads to a painfully doomy tempo change, when they're delivering the witchy incantation, Regasus ad uterum, as laid bare in the invocation of the great curse, so thy might return thyself to the labyrinth of nothing. What he said. This song is Trodden Flesh.
In a year crowded with great extreme metal, Black Curse has once again found a way to deliver a standout. Pulsing with evil, the album is a relentless, ravenous, blasphemous hearse ride down the highway to hell. Their Bandcamp page says, by means of excision, torment, and excruation, these curses were unveiled through EW, JC, ZC. Who could question the depravity of a Black Curse? We could do much worse than dropping a few bucks for a vinyl copy from the Spectral Voice label, if it hasn't already sold out. Damn, I already reposted my top 10 last week, but I'm sure if I had to do it over, these guys would be making an appearance. Let's play a song. This is Ruinous Paths. This is Onslaught Kommand with Malignancy. For those of you like me who seem to gravitate to the obscene and brutal more and more as you get older, I offer the latest from the Chilean 4-piece Onslaught Kommand. Malignancy is 14 songs, most of which fall in the tidy 2 to 3 minute range, and with song titles like Piss Rot Humiliation and Third World Stoning, I think it's fair to say this is not music for your grandparents' Christmas party. We're talking tattoo needle in the ear riff tones, howling reverb-soaked incantation-style vocals from bassist frontman Alexander Roman, aka Splatterhate, and crushing, heavy, blast beat drumming with a charmingly raw tone from stickman Rodolfo S., aka Cunt Hunt.
This is Third World Stoning. like to say that originally my review was titled Onslaught Kommand are okay. Anyway, Morbid Warfare charges from the speakers on an elephantine hardpan riff, exploring a slower, doomy pace for a majority of the track, save for the occasional hyperactive explosion from Rodolfo. The tempo changes in this track really give us a glimpse of his incredible talent. There's even a frenzious lead at the end of the track, which is a rare thing on this record. We get a bass breakout in the song Pervert Goat Command, revealing Roman's thick hearse without a muffler or tone.
As you can tell from Brian Pollan's grotesquely over-the-top artwork, this is a disc that never lets up. Satanic Storming may be the pick of the litter, storming with menace for about a minute, then stepping into a fantastic riff straight out of Scream Bloody Gore, and alternating it with blastier segments for the remainder of the track to marvelous effect.
See what we mean? This is Satanic Storming. Okay, right now the album's available streaming and on CD only, so I highly recommend you get over to the label's Bandcamp page, Gods of War, and check it out. I was fascinated by the Polish label's website, godsofwar.com, which is packed with releases from brutal bands the world over, like Poland's Hexenaltar, Trend Chant from Austin, Texas, and Finland's Sepulchral Curse, just to name a few. So much great music, so little time, but these boys from Chile deserve your immediate attention. Fans of stuff like Archgoat or Death Hammer won't want to miss out on this one. So let's close it out with a little Piss Rot Humiliation. Sounds of Decay 3 is a new album from Ghoulhouse, Fresh Out of Flesh.
The word ghoul comes from the Arabic word ghoul, which refers to an evil spirit that digs up graves and eats the dead. I mean, right there, what much more depraved fun could one want? If you need more convincing of what abominable amusement lies in wait on the second full length from our three-piece Swedish fiends, just look at that campy horror album cover. A hooded, faceless boogeyman carrying off an unconscious woman, about to do unspeakable acts. Need more convincing to swing to the cemetery side? Well, it's a raga band, so you know it's going to dial up some technical prowess. Now how much would you pay? Well, with song titles like The Morgue Scourge and Bizarre Impalement, you know there's definitely a lot of depraved humor too in these 12 tracks, all in the 2 to 3 minute range, keeping the listener smiling all the way to the blood bank.
They definitely have that kind of Mortician vibe, you know, the sense of humor, but yet also with the zombie and serial killer background, you know. The title track, Fresh Out of Flesh, sends us on a body-snatching errand, setting the demented tone with the guitar of Hakan Stuvemark, laying down a harrowing low-register minor chord grind. When the drums of the appropriately named Mr. Meatbeater burst in, they are a battering thwack, just shy of blast beat speed. The vocals of Raga Johansson are a low rumble that remind me of a large truck driving slowly on a gravel road. A guitar scream over a rampart of distorted noise provides a perfect, ghastly touch. Hey, question. Do you think that, like, when they're introducing, they're talking about the drummer to girls at the bar, they say, you know, you really need to meet Mr. Meatbeater?
And Rancid Meat Addiction. Stuvemark offers up some downright ominous, super fuzzed chords over a pop, 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 crack drum line of Meatbeater, swirled on repeat to lure the listener deeper into the shadows. Johansson's gritty growl, repeating the title. And I mean, who hasn't been through that phase of life?
Absolutely.
Everybody has a rancid meat addiction phase. There is even, as spins up on most tracks, guitar solo, this one slightly vibrato. While on Graveyard Drive-Thru, where incidentally I'm sure you can conveniently stock up on the above Grizzly Craving, has some more of a noodly solo. I love the breakdown moments of unnaturally low-register riffs, layered with take-notice drum blasting, Johansson's bass milling around low notes, adding quite the diabolical feel, and oh, so just a headbanger's delight style takeover. Let's play a song. This is Rancid Meat Addiction.
Okay, the album has 2 palate cleanser departures in A Date with the Undead and Severed Head with Legs that are instrumental and switch to an eerie electronic rave style with snap-tight drums and an impending doom synthesizer, unnerving pulses, and a spoken sample that reminded me of the whole Thriller Vincent Price spiel. All we need now is some iconic ghoul choreography. In choosing my favorite track, It's a Dead Heat, You Can Do Worse Than Riding in My Hearse had me chuckling wickedly at what might be the worst pickup line ever. The quick, changing chord groan over a meaty bass, layered echoey vocals at times adding the feel of demonic legions. Some fuzzed-out chugs stand alone for a few bars, and by the time the drums kick back in, I am completely infected by the whole groovy din.
The other is Chainsaw Chili. Where is that on your menu, Mission Barbecue? With those 3 descending quick guitar chords that, when repeated, are as hooky as a thorn bush, churning like a motor. The drum kit is a pulsing, telltale heartbeat that accelerates into heart attack mode. The low bass rumble adds more sticky ooze to the mix. Every metalhead is going to be moshing when the guitar turns chuggy at track's end.
There's a lot of great old school death grind to be found here, a variety of fiends, things that go bump in the night, and even some cannibalism humor. I think Vincent Price said it best. Grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. You've run out of time and excuses, so go zombie lurch yourself over to the Horror, Pain, Gore, Death Camp and snag one of these CDs. If they sell out, you can still get the digital download at a Dark Lord-friendly price of just $6.66. Fans of Exhumed, Dismember, or Repulsion will take gruesome delight in this Ghoulhouse rock.
Let's play a song. This is Chainsaw Chili.
I think we got a lot of mileage out of the neighborhood app this week. You know,
If yours is as hysterical as ours is, sometimes I read it just for amusement factor.
I can only read it for like patches of time, like a couple weeks, and then I just start to hate all my neighbors, so I have to stop.
This has been the Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast. Special thanks to Steve from Mindwars for being such a lovely guest on our show. Snaggletooth theme by Gustav Jord of the Flesh. Sounds of Decay theme by Steve Rathbone of Lair of the Minotaur. So in addition, write down Mindwars that you've got to get over to Spotify to check out, as well as Bandcamp. Also write down these bruisers, Ghoulhouse, Black Curse, and Onslaught Kommand. All content, 2024, the Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast.
I know you asked for that food processor, but instead I got you 50 feet of plastic wrap.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.